Hello everyone and welcome to another Commander Tactics Deck Tech. My name's Pope. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at one of the new legendary commanders from the Brawl Precons coming out with Throne of Eldraine, and that is Syr Gwyn, Hero of Ashvale. Syr Gwyn is a 5/5 human knight with a casting cost of 3, a red, a white, and a black, so Mardu, and her abilities read Vigilance Menace. Whenever an equipped creature you control attacks, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Equipment you control have equip knights for 0. In the world of equipment commanders, there are not many options for us to choose from, so when I saw Syr Gwyn get previewed, I was very excited to start building around her. With such a powerful ability, the deck theme is clear. We're going to be summoning lots of knights and suiting them up for combat, but I believe we can break down our knights into 2 squads. We have our combat knights, which are going to be swinging with strong keywords and big stats, and then we have our utility knights, which are going to be providing anthems, buffing other knights, drawing us cards, and generating tokens. And of course, with our lineup ready to go for battle, we have a full equipment arsenal with weapons and armor to help us break through and protect us against our opponents. This hybrid deck packs a major punch while cheating costs and drawing tons of cards. But let's dive in, taking a look at the combat knights first that we'll be summoning to swing in and knock our opponents out. Starting with Balin Wandering Knight, Fiendslayer Paladin, and Kinsbale Cavalier. Balin Wandering Knight is a 3/3 knight with first strike that gains double strike as long as 2 or more equipments are attached to it, and his second ability is that we can pay 1 and a white to attach all equipment to Balin. This is a super strong ability as it can be activated at instant speed, so if Balin goes unblocked, we can activate the ability, move every equipment over to him, and get in for huge damage. Fiendslayer Paladin is a 2/2 with first strike, lifelink, and protection from black and red. Equipped Fiendslayer Paladin can be a big threat that also gains us tons of life. And Kinsbale Cavalier is going to give all of our knights double strike, including itself. But a quick note here about double strike. With real Voltron capabilities, double strike can take us from having to swing 2 or 3 times to only having to swing once. Along with this, enabling our creatures with 10+ attack to double down and hit in twice is a very big deal. Next on the roster, we got Phyrexian Crusader, Olivia Mobilized for War, and Mirror Entity. Phyrexian Crusader is a 2/2 knight that has first strike, protection from red and white, but also has infect. If we're able to get Phyrexian Crusader equipped or buffed, it can one-shot our opponents with 10 infect out of nowhere. Olivia Mobilized for War is a 3/3 flying knight that reads, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may discard a card. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. It gains haste until the end of turn and it becomes a vampire. The evasion and the ability to provide haste makes Olivia a very good knight in this deck. And Mirror Entity is solid to include in just about any tribal deck. I feel like I talk about it all the time. It's able to pump all our creatures' base power and toughness for any amount of mana, which can really be humongous late game. Next up, we have Silverblade Paladin, Valiant Knight, and Vona, Butcher of Megan. Silverblade Paladin has Soulbound, which when itself or any other creature enters the battlefield, you can pair them, and then as long as they are paired, they have double strike. Valiant Knight gives a Knight Anthem for +1/+1, and then can give a double strike for 3 and 2 white mana. This again, very strong if we have equipped creatures, or if we're going for the Voltron approach. And Vona, Butcher of the Blade, is a 4/4 knight with vigilance and lifelink who can also be tapped and pay 7 life to destroy any non-land permanent, but only at sorcery speed. With all the lifelink we have, including what's on Vona, this will help to recoup the 7 life we have to pay to activate this ability. And the last 2 wannabe knights that we have are Korvath Brightflame and Anger. Korvath is going to give all of our knights not only haste, but flying as well. Our evasion in this deck is relatively weak, so the ability to just hand out flying to all of our creatures can have a major impact in the game. And then a staple in just about every red combat deck, Anger is going to give all of our creatures haste as long as it's sitting in our yard, along with a mountain on the field. But along with all of our beefy combat knights, we have a full selection of utility knights that are going to be there to enable our whole deck by helping us draw cards, tutor equipment, and much more. So let's take a look at this lineup, starting with Pure Steel Paladin, Midnight Reaper, and SRAM Senior Edificer. Each of these creatures are going to help us draw through our deck and maintain our card advantage. Pure Steel Paladin is a 2/2 human knight that is going to let us draw cards anytime equipment enters the battlefield under our control. It also allows us to equip for free if we control 3 or more artifacts, which is huge given some of the super strong equipment that we have. Midnight Reaper says anytime a creature you control dies, lose a life, draw a card. A great card to have in just about any creature deck, but the fact that it is a knight makes it even better. And SRAM, although not a knight, is going to let us draw cards anytime we cast an equipment spell. Next up, we have two knights that are going to help us go wide by generating lots of knight tokens, and they are Josu Vest, Lich Knight, and Ariel, Knight of Windgrace. Josu Vest is a 4/5 legendary zombie knight for 2 and 2 black that has menace. Josu also has a kicker for an additional 5 and a black that, if paid, create 8 2/2 zombie knights with menace. While that is a lot of mana, that is a lot of creatures as well. All these creatures are going to have menace and be able to be equipped for 0 thanks to their knight subtype. An Ariel, Knight of Windgrace, comes in as a 4/4 for 2, a white, and a black, and reads Vigilance. For 2 and a white, you can tap her to create a 2/2 white knight creature token with Vigilance. Or for a black, you can tap her and then tap X untapped knights you control to destroy target creature with power X or less. With all the tokens we are going to be creating and all the other knights we're going to have on the board, this is a great removal ability that we have in our arsenal. Then we have Danitha, Capuchin, Paragon, and Thalia's Lancers. Danitha is a keyword champion, a 2/2 knight with first strike, vigilance, and lifelink, and is going to reduce the casting cost of all of our equipment by 1. Truly feels like this card was designed for this deck, doing a little bit of everything so well. And Thalia's Lancer is a 4/4 knight for 3 and 2 white that has first strike and lets us tutor up any legendary spell. A super strong ability with all the powerful legendaries we have at our disposal, and a knight as well makes this such a perfect card for the deck. And to round out the supporting cast, we have Cavalier of Dawn and Hakon Stromgald Scourge. Cavalier of Dawn is a new elemental knight from Core 20 that has a beast with an ability built into it, allowing us to destroy any non-land permanent and give the owner a 3/3 golem. But it also has the ability that when it dies, we can return any artifact or enchantment from our graveyard to our hand. In case our powerful equipment gets destroyed, this is an easy way to get it back. Hakon Stromgald Scourge is a unique knight with a very powerful ability. Hakon reads, you may play Hakon Stromgald Scourge from your graveyard, but not from anywhere else. As long as Hakon is in play, you may play knight cards from your graveyard. When Hakon is put into a graveyard from play, you lose 2 life. We have a few ways to get Hakon into our graveyard, but once he is there, we can recur all of our knights for some insane value. I love this card, and although it can be a little tricky to get it online, it is super strong. Now that we've seen all the knight creatures in this deck, let's take a look at the equipment arsenal we will be running to buff them, protect them, and keep them going in battle. Colossus Hammer, Embercleave, and Sunforger are the first 3 weapons we'll be taking a look at. Colossus Hammer is a new equipment in our Core 20 that is a true beater. For only 1 mana to cast, this equipment is going to give a creature +10/+10. The downside is that it loses flying and that it costs 8 mana to equip. We don't have too many flyers in this deck, so that isn't really a problem, but the 8 equip is a steep price to pay. Luckily, this deck does have tons of options to cheat that cost and equip it for little to nothing. Embercleave is a new legendary equipment coming from Throne of Eldraine with a whole lot of text. It reads, Flash. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. When Embercleave enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample, and it costs 3 to equip. So breaking down this crazy equipment real fast. Cheap to pay if we have lots of attackers. You can flash it in during the combat step after defenders are declared. When it enters, we automatically equip it for free, and the equipped creature gets +1/+1, double strike, and trample. I love this card so much, and it was clearly designed for this commander. Flash this card in, no blockers or chump blockers, and then watch as our opponents take massive amounts of damage. Sunforger is a 3 cost that equips for 3 and gives the equipped creature +4/+0, which is great. But the additional ability of Sunforger is what makes it such an incredible artifact. For a red and a white, we can unattach Sunforger at instant speed to search our library for a red or white spell with 4 CMC or less and cast it for free. All 7 instances that we run in this deck are valid targets for Sunforger, helping to protect our creatures or eliminate any threats for only the 2 mana. This card is a strong contender for MVP of this deck because it can be used for just about any situation. Next we have Sigiled Sword of Valerian, Basilisk Collar, and Loxodon Warhammer. Sigiled Sword of Valerian is going to give the equipped creature Vigilance, +2/+0, and make it a knight if it happens to not be. And then when the equipped creature attacks, we create a 2/2 knight token with Vigilance that is attacking. Having extra knights on board to equip things to and synergize with makes this an awesome equipment to have online. Basilisk Collar is a 1-cost artifact that equips for 2 and gives a creature Death Touch and Lifelink. The Lifelink is going to help us sustain, while the Death Touch is going to add a layer of protection to whatever creature we have this equipped to. Loxodon Warhammer is going to give the equipped creature +3/+0, trample, and lifelink. Just an all-around strong equipment that can help us get in for damage while also helping us keep our life totals high. Whispersilk Cloak, Darksteel Plate, Conqueror's Flail are all great defensive equipments to have in our arsenal to select from. Whispersilk Cloak is a 3-cost that's going to give the equipped creature Shroud and Unblockable. Getting in for double strike, pumped damage, canned in games quick, but make sure not to forget that Shroud denies you the ability to equip the equipped creature with additional equipments. Darksteel Plate's an indestructible equipment for 3 that's going to give the equipped creature indestructible as well. Once the equipment is equipped, it is very hard to deal with, so we definitely want to get this onto our commander or our big threats to keep them safe. And Conqueror's Flail is a 2-cost artifact that equips for 2 and is going to pump the equipped creature by +1/+1 for each color among permanents we control, which is great. But the real star of this equipment is the other ability, which reads, as long as Conqueror's Flail is attached to a creature, your opponents cannot cast spells on your turn. This defense is so important, as we should have no problem keeping this equipped at all times. Dowsing Dagger and Mask of Memory are 2 equipments that are going to help us ramp and draw more cards. When Dowsing Dagger enters the battlefield, we're going to give an opponent 2 plant tokens, and whenever we equip it to a creature, it's going to get +2/+1. But the real glory of this equipment is that whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage to an opponent, it transforms into the Lost Veil, which is just a reskinned Gilded Lotus. That extra 3 mana per turn will help us to continue to get our knights out and keep us casting those big spells. Mask of Memory is a 2-cost that equips for 1 and reads, whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, we get to draw 2 cards, and if we do, we discard a card. Card draw is always great, but card draw on an equipment in this deck is just perfect. Of course, we'll also be running Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, each of which are going to give us protection and haste. Lightning Greaves gives Shroud and can be equipped for 0, while Swiftfoot Boots gives Hexproof and costs 1 to equip, both necessary to help keep our commander alive and out of harm's way. Do keep in mind that Shroud on Lightning Greaves, again, does deny us the ability to equip other equipments to that equipped creature. And lastly, we have 3 powerhouses of equipments, and that's Helm of the Host, Hammer of Nazan, and Masterwork of Ingenuity. Helm of the Host is a legendary artifact that costs 4 and equips for 5, but it's going to create a token of whatever it's attached to whenever you enter your combat step. This token has haste and isn't legendary to help us get around the legendary rule. This is one of the best cards in my opinion coming out of Dominaria and is so fun to play in a lot of decks. Then we have Hammer of Nazan. Hammer of Nazan is a 4-cost legendary, and it is a beast. It automatically equips itself on entry and gives equipped creature indestructible and +2/+0. But if that wasn't enough, whenever any other equipment enters the battlefield while Hammer of Nazan is on the field, you can then attach that equipment to a target creature for free. Another strong contender for MVP of this whole deck. And Masterwork of Ingenuity is a 1-cost equipment that enters the battlefield as any equipment on the battlefield. Do take note that the equipment you copy will follow the legendary rule, so unfortunately we can't have 2 Hammer of Nazans or 2 Embercleaves going at the same time. But there are lots of other great targets for this equipment. And although it isn't an equipment, I do want to mention one last card, and that is the enchantment Sigarda's Aid. This enchantment, for 1 white, says you may cast auras and equipment spells as though they had flash. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. this card by itself can enable us to get in for massive damage at flash instant speed without our opponents being able to respond, and it lets us get around all those equipment costs. With the right equipment in hand and Sigarda's aid on the field, we can kill opponents out of nowhere and win games at instant speed. And now that we've seen how this deck runs, let's take a look at what else is inside the 99. Starting with removal and control, we have 7 targeted removal spells and 3 additional targeted removal abilities on our knights. With such a high number of targeted removal spells, we're only going to be running 3 board wipes. If your playgroup calls for more board clears, I'd suggest adding in maybe Austere Command, Wrath of God, or maybe even Mass Calcify would work. Our card draw in this deck is one of the shining features. Our commander alone is going to enable us to draw a ton of cards if everything goes our way, but just in case it doesn't, we have 8 other spells that will give us card advantage, from casting equipments to basic sorceries. This deck should never be running on a low hand. Mardu makes ramp a little tough beyond mana rocks, so that's exactly what we're going to have. We got 5 rocks, then we also have our dagger equipment that transforms into the undercover Gilded Lotus. These should do the trick, but if you're looking to add in a couple more, maybe consider the 2 cost talismans. While this deck is clearly focused on a combat win, let's take a quick look at the cards that can help us end games. Ember Cleave can be flash in and kill an opponent who tries to chump block or no block. Colossus Hammer, just a huge beater that if we can get in with double strike, we might kill somebody. Knight's Charge can bring back all of our forces at once, allowing for all kinds of shenanigans with haste, do huge damage. Primeval's Glorious Rebirth will not only bring back our big knights, but also all of our legendary artifacts we have in the yard. Mirror Entity can pump our forces to outrageous numbers for easy kills late game. Phyrexian Crusader, equipped to 10 attack, infect someone right out of the game. Josu Ves can make us 9 creature army for 10 mana. And lastly, if we have Sigarda's aid on the board and we flash in something huge after blockers are declared, this is an easy way to catch the opponents off guard and a good chance that we just take them out. But that is going to wrap up this Throne of Eldraine Commander deck tech of Syr Gwyn, Hero of Ashvale. Gwen is the perfect commander for an equipment-based deck, a slot that I've always felt was kind of lacking until now. This deck is very resilient, so even if things aren't going your way at first, one card can really turn the tides. For a full deck list, head on down to the description below. Also, let me know what knights you think I missed and what equipments you think would be better suited down in the comments. I do hope you enjoyed this deck tech. I know that once Throne of Eldraine and these precons are released, I will be making this exact deck. But if you enjoyed this comment, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to know when the next deck tech goes live, make sure to subscribe. If you're a Twitter user, make sure to go drop us a follow over at EDH Tactics. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.